from West Cliff, Colorado. All right. So today we're going to be talking about triads. All right. So if you want to really expand your fretboard knowledge, this is it. Okay. I'm telling you, cage lessons plus triads plus some pentatonics will completely change the way you play the guitar. But the trick is you have to memorize this stuff. Okay. You can't glaze over it and go immediately to the next YouTube video. So let's lock in, pay attention, grab your guitar, and let's get into this, all right? Before we get into this little triad lesson, make sure you grab the PDF below, all right? This PDF below is going to allow you to kind of study these triads as we go through it, or if you're going to watch this again later, you'll be able to watch that. So that link is at the top of the description below. I'll also put like a little banner up here later on, so you'll be able to click up there. So what we want to do is really get to know our triads. And by the way, I had this lesson planned out for a while, and my buddy Daniel Sarif, shout out to you, he's a great guitar teacher here on YouTube as well. He's teaching on the same thing last week, so I was like, well, I got to teach it anyways because I already had it planned. But anyways, shout out to Daniel, he's a great guitar teacher. So check this out. What we're going to do is I'm going to start by explaining the value of kind of like knowing your triads. So when you really want to know your triads, the reason is because you can play chord progressions all up and down the neck, and if you really master them and understand where your pentatonics are and where those shapes come from, you really start to be able to kind of weave in and out of chord progressions much more freely, okay? And it allows you to kind of do the chord lick chord thing, which you see me do on YouTube and Instagram. So the progression we're going to be talking about today is in the key of G. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start on a C chord, and it's just going to be, I'll just show you the progression, and then we'll break it down with the triad situation, okay? So it's like C, G, E minor, D. You've heard that before. But what we want to do is be able to move that around the neck. We want to be able to go stuff like that, right? Move it anywhere, really. You could go like, all right, so let's talk about what triads we need here to make this happen, all right? It's really easy and really common, and I was guilty of this as well. Let me tilt this down a little bit. As a guitar player, to just go, all right, I'm going to play this here. C, G, E minor, D, which is perfectly acceptable, right? And then you go, all right, maybe I can also play it here. C, G, you got to jump up, E minor, D. There's value in that as well. There's also value in going, let's say, C way up here, or let's say C, G, E minor, D. All these are moving around, but what we want to get good at and where you really see the value of triads is with voice leading and knowing what scale fits behind it and knowing how closely related really all of these chords are. So at the end of the day, all these chords are really, really, really closely related. We're in the key of G, all right? So what we're doing is a 4, 1, 6, 5 chord progression. Where I'm getting those from is that each note in the scale, there's 7 notes in the scale, each of those notes are harmonized into chords within the key. That's where you get the Nashville number system. That's for another lesson, but let's jump into this. We're going to do all these off the first 3 strings, okay? So you probably know this C bar chord right here, but what we want to do, it's like in the A shape if you know cage, is we want to borrow just the triad in root position from there. C, G, E minor, D. Now, not all of these are root position, all right? So the first one is C, E, G, and that's a triad based out of this A shape of C, okay? C, right there. So it's 5, 5, 3, C, E, G, root position. And then we've got a G, which is the 1 chord. That's the key that we're in. That's the key, all right? Then we've got a G, but this is B, D, G, all right? This is a first inversion. That means the third is in the bass. So the root is on top. So look how closely related this is. C, G. That G was a common tone right here. And then right there. And then look, if we go to E minor, that G is still there. So the E minor. So we got C in root, G in first inversion, E minor, that's 5th in the bass. That's B, E, G, okay? And then we've got D, all All right. So what do I mean by first inversion, second inversion, root in the bass? So if it's a root position, it's the G is in the, or whatever the name of the chord is in the bass. All right. So where does that come from? So if it's a triad, it's just a 3-note chord, G, A, B, and then you've got the fifth of it. So there's your third. 1, 2, 3, third note up in the scale. 4, 5. So root, third, fifth. Okay. So that's where it's coming. So anytime it's not root in the bass, meaning the G, if it's a G chord, it means that you've either got the B or the D in the bass. All right. If the third note in that chord, excuse me, is in the bass, that's first inversion. If the fifth note, the fifth of that chord is in the bass, that's second inversion. All right. It's more important to learn the shapes for now. We can talk about root, third, and all that later, and you can memorize that later. But right now, let's just learn the progression. So we've got C in root, G, third in the bass. All right. E minor, fifth in the bass. That's 4, 5, 3, B, G, E. Or sorry, B, E, G. And then a D right here, and that's fifth in the bass as well. That's A, D, F sharp. So we got this progression. And then you can go back and loop it. Otherwise, we're jumping all around the neck, right? We don't want to be like C, G, E minor, D. Where is this useful? It's useful because if you know your G major scale or G major pentatonic over the top of this, you can add licks in between. The place I would practice adding licks, so that scale is right there. Right, so that's over this E shape of G. So you can add a lick after you play the D chord. So it's like C, G, E minor, D. And then you got to practice landing back on the chord. C, G. What's up, John? So there's one spot. C, G, E minor, D. Okay? Now if you move up the next C we can grab is here, and that's based out of our cage shape E, or just our C major bar chord, okay? So let me get a drink of water here. Anyways, so what we got to do is just grab a piece of that chord, all right? We just need the first 3. Notice it's the same shape as the G, but it's just up here off the 8th fret. That's E, G, C, just like that, okay? So it's that same shape, and I'm barring my index there. C, all right, third in the bass. G, just a D shape. You know that shape. It's just you're used to playing it here. We just played it a second ago. But we're doing it right here. That's fifth in the bass. D, G, B. And then E minor. Look how close this is. Right there. All right. So this D shape right here is either from your D cage shape or your C shape of G right here. We can talk about that later. But let's just memorize this how it is right now. C, G. Look at E minor. Right there, it's out of your E minor bar chord, all right? At the 5th string, all right? So it's right there, and that's E, that's in root, G, B, right there. So, and then we hop back and play D in root. So we've got C, G, E minor, and then D, okay? So now you want to practice that in time too. I would suggest practicing it with a metronome or just jamming along with it. So like C, G, E minor, D, C, G, E minor, D. You might be asking, well, what scale is right there? All right, so we got this right here. You've got this pattern right here. That fits over your C shape of G right here, all right? But we're just playing like this little upper end of it. So C, G, E minor, D, little lick. And I didn't even play a lick, really. I just played piece of the scale. Just went right down it. C, G, E minor, D, like that. C, G, E minor, D. And the thing about it is these are easier than bar chords. So don't avoid your triads because these are like simpler than holding a full C, G, E minor, D. It's less taxing on your wrist, and you have a free finger, so it's easier to kind of grab a note to add a lick, okay? So try that. So we've got C, G, E minor, D, right there, okay? So C, G, E minor, D. Where was the first one? Let's review. C, G, E minor, D. I mean, look how closely related these are. E, D. So if we play the C, what note is kind of held over for voice leading? This G is, because when we go to G, that note is there. E minor, the B is our common note, which is on the upper end. There's E minor. And then when we go to D, we kind of got to jump, but it's still right there, okay? All three of these. C, G, E minor, D, okay? All right, so now you've done it here, C, G, E minor, D, and you've done it here, C, G, E minor, D, okay? So now we can do this in a couple more spots. I'm just gonna do it in one more spot today because that's what the PDF shows, all right? So if we go C, now we're doing C in the same shape we did G in, and the same shape we did the D in. You can almost practice that going all the way up. There's your triad shape with the fifth in the bass, all the way up on the first three strings. You can go all the way up and practice it like this. Right? You can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. Anyway, so we've got C up here, fifth in the bass, fifth, root, third, all right? It's just a little D shape of a C chord right here, 12, 13, 12. All right, now where's our G that we want to grab? The G is going to be in root. It's right here. It was the same shape as our D in root and the same shape as our C in root. So you can practice going, these are root triads up the neck in this shape. Our G is G, B, D, all right? So we got C, G, then we've got an E minor. I just bar the first three strings. It's a piece of our E minor bar chord up here in the E minor shape. So C, G, E minor right here. That's G, B, E. That's fifth in the bass. All right. So sorry, third in the bass. So that's first inversion. And then D, third in the bass as well. And that's F sharp, A, and then D. Okay. So you've got C, G, E minor, D. And if you know, we're kind of like in G major or E minor. They're relative to one another. That means they both share the same notes. So G major pentatonic shares the exact same notes as E minor pentatonic. So you can do this pattern that everybody knows. Right? That scale that everybody learns. Right? We're going to play that, and you can literally use that to improvise over this spot. So you can go C, G, E minor, D, C, G, E minor, D. Just little simple things. Right? So look, we've done it in 3 spots right here. You want to practice that. Make sure you use the PDF. It's in the description below. You just got to put it in your email. I'll give it to you absolutely for free. I don't spam anybody, and I'm definitely not going to sell your information. So look, C, G, E minor, D. Then you come up here and you go C, G, E minor, D. Then you come up here and you go C, G, E minor, D. And you've done that in 3 spots. So let's say somebody's jamming here, right? And let's say I loop this. I go C, G, E minor, D. Now, if someone's playing that in open chords or whatever, you can go, sounds nice. You can even arpeggiate it. I'll show you that in a second. Now, arpeggiate it. So, stop that loop. Now, all you got to do is practice this stuff and get it memorized. So you can do a couple things here. You could practice just your major right here, your major triad off the first 3 strings in root, and just move it around. Then you can practice your major triad off the first 3 strings, third in the bass. it's on the upper end here. So you're playing a G, an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E major. And you can practice your D shape all the way up. Your root is on the 3rd string, or 2nd string, sorry. So all the way up. And you got to know what those notes are going up. Right now, I'm just kind of teaching you and telling you what they are, but you got to study this stuff on your own. Really commit to memorizing it so that you can use this material, okay? You want to be able to use this. Without memorization, you're never going to be able to use it, all right? So take triads, memorize them, and then practice what scale goes underneath them so that you know how to grab things, all right? So if I'm here, G, E minor, D. The beauty of triads is that it literally allows you to see where you're at, and you can grab scales around it as long as you know what they are. So like C, right? G, E minor, D. And you grab a piece of a pentatonic scale right here. C, G, E minor, D. The trick is knowing that. That's for another lesson, but today it's mostly triads. So you want to practice these. And if you have a looper, is a good way to practice it is using the looper, all right? That way you can do this type of thing, and you can be like, you can hear how the voicings fit over an open progression. So like, messed that up, sorry. So try that out. I'll check that PDF and make sure it's right. If it's not, I'll re-upload it. But yeah, so let's make sure you get these down. Without memorization, none of this stuff will show up in your playing, all right? So another thing you can talk about is like, what parent shape do these come from? The C is coming from this C shape. The G is coming from the E shape. The E minor is coming from kind of like a D minor shape. And the D is just coming from a D shape. Now you come up here, C is coming from this C bar chord shape. G is coming from this little D shape right here, but it's a G, obviously. The E minor is coming from an E minor bar chord shape. And the D is coming from this D shape, this D chord in the A shape. So if we go up, this C is coming from a D shape. E minor is coming from an E minor bar chord shape, right? Oh, so I did C, and then this G is coming from this G major shape in the A, G major chord in the A shape, all right? And then you got E minor out of this E minor bar chord shape, and then this D is coming from this D major shape, this D major chord in the E shape. If you know Cage, so Cage will come another time. You want to be able to kind of reference everything because it kind of makes everything easier to understand if you can get the Cage shapes down, and then you apply the triads underneath them, okay? So take this PDF, practice it. My goal is to help intermediate guitar players blast through the plateau, wherever they're stuck at, and get to the next level. One of the best ways you can do that is by practicing your triads, but really understanding the why behind them. Without the why, you can't repeat this in another key. So the goal here would be to take these things, these ideas and concepts, and move it to a new key, okay? So that's what you want to do. If you like this lesson, please consider liking, subscribing, hit that notification button so you know when I'm going live or when I post more content on the internet here or on YouTube. So, and then if you're really interested in blasting through your plateau, you got to check out my All Access Pass. There's a link for that below. I'm going to close enrollment soon. You'll be able to check that out and get in there. I'm teaching live a couple times a month, and then I'm also answering questions, and you get access to all of the courses that are currently in there and all the courses that are going to be coming down the pipeline soon, okay? So check that out. You can really get in there and really take your playing to the next level. But the key here is triads all over the neck and really being able to understand how to apply them where they're at now, understand where the scales are that fit around them, and then being able to do this in different keys is really the key concept. So I'm just going to do a little jam on the way out here, and I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. So I'm just going to jam in the key of G major / E minor because we know those are relative. All the notes in G major are the same notes for E minor. So that's a little theory for you. So check this out. Every major key has a relative minor. So get the idea. If you have a looper, you want to be able to do this stuff, all right? So enjoy the lesson, have fun with it, and I'd love to hear from you, so drop a comment below, and I would love to see you in the community sometime. That's the All Access Pass. Or you just click the link below. You can sign up. Super, super easy. You'll love it. Thanks for joining me in this lesson. I'll see you in the next one. I think I'm going to go live next Friday as well. So look for that coming soon as well. So every Friday I'm going to go live for a little while here. Thanks for joining me in the lesson, and I'll see you. Have a great day.